Good day, classmates, and especially our instructor, Miss Pauline Cabalsa. I am Christomas B. Malabiga, BS Criminology 213. I am going to present my PowerPoint in duration of penalties. First, capital punishment, also known as the death penalty, is a stated sanction practiced of killing person as a punishment for a crime. The sentence ordering that an offender is to be punished in such a manner is known as death sentence, and the act of carrying out the sentence is known as execution. A prisoner who has been sentenced to death and awaits execution is condemned and is commonly referred to be as being on death row. My example in capital punishment are the following. Murder is an unlawful killing of another human, justifications or valid excuse. Especially the unlawful killing of another human with a malice aforethought. This state of mind may depending upon the jurisdiction distinguish murder from the other forms of unlawful homicide such as manslaughter. Rape is a type of sexual assault usually involving sexual intercourse, other forms of sexual penetration carried out against a person without the person's consent. The act may be carried out by physical force, coercion, abuse of authority, or against a person who is incapable of giving valid consent, such as one who is unconscious, anticipated as an intellectual disability, or is belong on the legal age of consent. The term rape is sometimes used interchangeably with the term sexual assault. My first example in duration of punishment is murder, because murder is also a common crime, not a very common crime, but it is it is punishable by capital punishment because uh, you you know murder is killing another life. you you are be able to be punished by the capital punishment. Rape is also a capital punishment because at the example itself, it is a sexual forms of penetration. uh, ang rape is ano parang it is commonly happen in our sa ating kababaihan, because some of them will as the example said, as an intellectual ability that is called yung mga tinatawag nating mga, for example, is yung mga kulang sa pag-iisip, yung mga abnormal, nare-rape sila because of they are unable to protect themselves to the suspect or the offenders. um, Next is afflictive penalties. A fine, whether imposed as a single or as an alternative penalty, shall be considered an afflictive penalty if it exceeds 6,000 pesos. There are two afflictive penalties in the example, which is reclusion perpetua. The penalty of reclusion perpetua shall be from 20 years and 1 day to 40 years. Reclusion perpetua is also called reclusion perpetua to death, because we don't have a reclusion perpetua to death because it is already abolished, and ang pumalit sa kanya ay yung reclusion perpetua shall be imprisonment in 20 years and 1 day to 40 years. That is the maximum punishment for that said penalties. And the next one is reclusion temporal. The penalty of reclusion temporal shall be from 12 years and 1 day to 20 years. My example in that particular afflictive penalties is aircraft hijacking. It is unlawful seizure of an aircraft by an individual or a group dating from the earliest of hijacking. Most cases involve the pilot being forced to fly according to hijackers' demand. This particular case is commonly happen in I think in America, if I'm not mistaken. Here in the Philippines, I didn't hear anything na nagkakaso ng ganito. This hijacking is ang form nila is hina-hijack nila yung isang eroplano from the example it's a aircraft. Na-hijack nila, and then yung mga tao in-hostage nila, and then kapalit niyon yung malaking halaga na hinihingi nila. And then pag hindi nila yung iba kapag hindi nila nakuha yung gusto nila, or yung hindi na ibigay ng government yung hinihingi nilang ransom kung tawagin, pinapatay nila isa-isa yung mga passenger. And that was sad sa nakakalungkot na balita. And then the next one is mutiny. Mutiny is a revolt among a group of people to oppose change or overthrow an organization to which they were previously loyal. The term is commonly used for rebellion among members of military against an internal force, but it can also sometimes mean a type of rebellion against any force. Yung mutiny, kung sa Tagalog is yung pag-aaklas. Merong nangyari dito, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, dito sa Pilipinas, yung kay Trillanes, yung case ni Trillanes, which is nag-aklas siya sa ating government. And next one, correctional penalties. Prison mayor and temporary disqualification. The duration of the penalties of prison mayor and temporary disqualification shall be from 6 years and 1 day to 12 years, except when the penalty or disqualification is opposed as an accessory penalty, in which case its duration shall be that of the principal penalty. And prison, correctional, suspension, and destierro. The duration of the penalties of prison, correctional, suspension, and destierro shall be from 6 months and 1 day to 6 years, except when suspension is imposed as an accessory penalty, in which case its duration shall be that of the principal penalty. My example is sedition. Every person who shall utter sedition words or speeches, or who shall write, publish, or circulate scurrilous libels against the government of the United States or against the government of the Philippine Islands, or who shall print, write, publish, utter, or make any statement or speech, or do any act which tends to disturb or obstruct any lawful officer in executing his office or in performing his duty, or which tends to instigate others to cabal or meet together for unlawful purposes, or which suggests or incites rebellious conspiracies, or which tends to stir up the people against the unlawful authorities, or which tends to disturb the peace of community or safety or order of the government, or who shall knowingly conceal such as evil practices from the constitutional authorities shall be punished by a fine not exceeding 2 years. Dumako na tayo sa ating panghuling duration ng penalties. That is a light penalty. Arresto mayor. The duration of the penalty or arresto mayor shall be from 1 month and 1 day to 6 months. And then, arresto menor, the duration of penalties or arresto menor shall be from 1 day to 30 days. Bond to keep the peace. The bond to keep the peace shall be required to cover such period of time as the court may determine, as amended by Section 21 Republic Act number 7659. This is my example of light penalties. The jaywalking means violating pedestrian traffic laws, most often by crossing street illegally, while jaywalking is low-level offense. It can draw fines and most of it's not all jurisdiction. It is common sa makita natin sa street and sa Maynila yung jaywalking, na kung saan yung mga pedestrian natin tumatawid na lang sila bigla kahit pa yung traffic light is naka-red pa, hindi nila inintay yung green, tumatawid sila, which is a violation against the traffic laws. Maaari silang mabangga and pag nangyari yon, walang pagkakasala yung driver kung hindi naman nila sadya, dahil ang jaywalking is a violation of traffic laws. And then a curfew is an order specifying a time during which certain regulation apply. Typically, it is the time when individuals must stay indoors. Such as an order may be issued by public authorities but also by the owner of the house to those living in the household. Ang curfew, yung lalo na yung pinatutupad ngayong pandemic. Curfew is yung halimbawa may curfew sa lugar nyo na dito sa Batangas ng 10 PM ng gabi. Kailangan bago mag 10 PM wala na yung mga, especially yung curfew is pinapatupad sa mga 18, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, 18 years old pababa. Pagsapit ng 10 AM or kahit anong time na sinabi ng mga pulis or ng munisipyo kung ano yung curfew na yung oras, kailangan silang nasa loob na sila ng bahay, because kung hindi sila susunod doon ay mahuli sila, which is example of light penalties. Pinapatupad ang curfew dahil maraming kabataan na lumiliga sa gabi, which is mas prone sila sa mga tulad nung rugby and yung mga riot ng mga kabataan tuwing gabi. Ang ginagawa lang ng mga kapulisan natin is iiwas sila sa mga ganong mga insidente. And this is the end of my short presentation about duration of penalties. I hope you learn something on my presentation and thank you.